Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone. There has been some question regarding what was the scope of Cy Ray's role in the Idaho versus Kohberger case. Many understood he was to be an expert witness. In fact, when Judge Hippler last week finally unsealed documents from January 23rd, 2025, where the defense included their list of proposed trial experts. The trial was still pending at that time. What they were going to testify on, their resumes, and their reports. Mr. Ray was listed there. However, Mr. Ray, unlike any of the other experts that were disclosed, such as Dr. Brent Turvey, was going to fulfill another role in the case as to Mr. Kohberger's alibi. So it wasn't just that he was going to be the CSLI expert that would be engaged in the battle of the experts with Nick Balance on this issue. There have been many documents filed in Idaho versus Kohberger dating back to 2023 on Alibi. But if you have time to read one, the one that I recommend is the March 17th, 2025 defendant's objection to state's motion in limine regarding Alibi. What is this? The state had filed a motion in limine before trial to try to get the defense's alibi defense knocked out. They successfully did that. And I felt that it was a proper ruling by Judge Stephen J. Hippler based on what the statute required in order to raise an alibi defense. But going back to what was Mr. Ray's role, if you read this objection, and if you go on to page number 2, you'll see Mr. Kohberger filed his notice of alibi on July 24th, 2023. This notice stated that at the time alleged by the state that he was inside the King Road home, he was driving his vehicle and not in Moscow. So what's happened here, if I could interject, ladies and gentlemen, is Mr. Kohberger, for the first time since standing silent, there's a statement made by him that's relevant to the crimes that he was charged with, saying he wasn't out of the country, he wasn't in another state, he wasn't visiting his family in Pennsylvania, he wasn't in the hospital, he wasn't working, he wasn't at home in his apartment. He was out driving around. In my opinion, that was very valuable information for the state to have from Mr. Kohberger. In going on, it says here, after the notice of alibi was filed on July 24th, 2023, the state filed a motion to compel. July 27, 2023, the state felt what Kohberger had provided regarding the alibi defense did not meet what the statute required him to disclose. This led to a hearing on August 18th, 2023. Remember, this is still when this case was in Latah County. It was before Judge John Judge. Idaho Code 19519 is addressed here. That is the statute for notice of alibi and what needs to be provided to the state. Mr. Kohberger advised the state he intended to offer expert testimony through Cy Ray as partial corroboration that he was driving south and west of Moscow during the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. This expert testimony involves cell site location information, CSLI, having to do with the travels of the 8458 phone, ladies and gentlemen. And the theory was where that phone traveled, so did Mr. Kohberger. So we see here paragraph 2, page 2 of this response objecting to the state's motion in limine to get this alibi defense kicked, that Cy Ray was intended to be a part of Mr. Kohberger's alibi defense. It goes on to say that after the disclosure, the court heard Mr. Kohberger's fourth motion to compel, wherein, amongst other things, Mr. Kohberger sought further records related to CSLI. Mr. Kohberger called Mr. Ray to testify at this hearing, and the state declined cross-examination. So that's when you saw Mr. Ray get up on the stand in Latah County. This ultimately had to do with the defense of alibi. And then it goes on and says, Mr. Kohberger will present the testimony of expert witness Cy Ray having to do with the alibi defense. That would position Mr. Ray to be called at trial, get up on the stand, provide testimony that was ultimately intended to persuade that jury to return a not guilty verdict based on this defense of alibi. So the rhetorical question that we ask is, given Mr. Ray's recent comments, words to the effect that Mr. Kohberger was guilty, why, number one, would he ever agree to be his expert witness on anything? And more significantly, why would he agree to take part in the defense of alibi? Until next time, this is Kathy. Thank you for joining us here today.